My name is Ilan Troen, Ilan. Troen is Troen.
Okay, and I guess just start by describing to me you are in Israel as we
Yeah,
speak, and
I
and describe to me what the incredible heroics of your loved ones saving your grandson, and just how they made the ultimate sacrifice in doing that.
well. I'm in Israel. I'm a former Bostonian. Lived in a place called Blue Hill Avenue in Roxbury, Dorchester, and then in Brighton. Taught for a number of years at Brandeis University. Came to Israel in 1975 to teach at Ben Gurion University in Beersheba. And we came with 4 children, had another 2 here. With the group that came from the States was Deborah Matjes, who was killed a few days ago by the Hamas terrorists in a pogrom. And it is about her that this meeting takes place. She and her husband, Shlomi, were killed by Hamas terrorists who invaded their home on a kibbutz near the Gaza border. They live in a kibbutz or lived in a kibbutz near the border or the point of meeting between Egypt, Gaza, and Israel. It's in the therefore southern part of the country, the Negev. It used to be desert. Together with other kibbutzniks, they made it into a verdant garden with wonderful agriculture, orchards, fields full of wonderful vegetables, and as well as some factories. And people largely work in the kibbutz or commute, like my son-in-law commuted. He was a musician and a high school teacher who taught in regional schools. And it was a series of wonderful communities of people who came to create communities. And that was one of the special things about my daughter, Deborah. Deborah comes from a large family of 6, and the begats really take place in the family. So there were cousins for her children. She had 3 children. One of them, Rotem, about whom much has been written, was with them in the house. The other 2, the 2 girls, are 19 and 21, and as such had their own accommodations in the kibbutz, and they were fortunate enough not to be home. Otherwise, they might not be with us today. Rotem he's in a hospital nearby recovering from a bullet wound to his stomach. A wound that was buffered probably by my daughter, who threw herself on him. And he's entering the road of recovery. And what else can I tell you about my daughter, except to say that she was a highly talented young woman who turned 50 a week ago, or actually on September 25th, and was full of life. Looked forward to a great deal. Her husband was a musician. The house is full of music. When family gatherings took place, Shlomi would pull out his, miniature piano. I forget what the word in English is, klidim in Hebrew, and or his guitar, and play. And Deborah would sing, and we would sing along. So there was great joy. And it is strange, odd, and unbelievably painful to know that it's ended. What else can I tell you?
When was the last time that you were able to spend time with them, and what are your last memories of them?
Oh, we visit. They live around 50 minutes from here. It's not like one lives in Boston and kids are in San Francisco or Colorado. So we see one another, and it's holiday time, Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. There was a family gathering that involved 4 living generations of the family in Israel. They went away to celebrate Deborah's 50th to Amsterdam and had a wonderful time. We saw the kids more recently, and but the knowledge of one another and the proximity make for interactions and a real relationship. And it's a relationship that we enjoyed and nourished us a great deal. And it's a terrible loss for all of us.
How did you find out that they had passed away and that they had been able to save your grandson in the way that they did?
Because in this modern world of ours, and particularly in this country, there is no such thing as the front, the battlefront, and the rear. Not only is the distance between our house and hers and the border with Gaza, it's 45 seconds as the missile flies. And that is the amount of time we have as a warning to quickly run to our bomb shelter, which is by law, by building code, part of our house, let alone part of the faculty of the university, the hospital, the stores, you name it, that we have to have those kinds of installations in order to protect citizens. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was going with this. It's been a very confusing time.
No worries at all. Just how you found out about their loss and saving your grandson.
In this day and age, everybody has a cell phone. So she called up to tell us that she was hearing Arabic being spoken and shooting going on around the neighborhood, the small cluster of homes in the kibbutz in which she lived. And then she reported broken glass. And that was really the last we heard from her spoken. The next we heard was from her son saying, hey, metu, they're dead. And we learned that he was lying under her and that it was covered in part by his parents' blood, and that he himself had been wounded. And everything thereafter for about the next 12 hours was texting between him and a chat group that immediately formed among members of the family. And members of the family include an aunt, his Aunt Lisa, who was a trauma specialist and was able to give him good advice on how to breathe, kept on giving him encouragement, as everybody did. Atagibor, you're a hero, you're strong, you're of good courage. And the reason that it was all texting was because we didn't want him to speak. We gave him advice when he was reporting that there is smoke, because what the terrorists had done was they came back several times to ensure that they killed everybody. By then he was hiding in the laundry and under a blanket. They at one point set fire to all the houses with the expectation that if there were any survivors, they would run outside and they could shoot them. So the advice was stay where you are, put a sheet over your mouth and breathe carefully. And he made it. He survived 12 hours later with 4% in his battery. And so in a real sense, we were present. We were part of what took place. It's not like people who went away to war and fought in Normandy or Japan or Iraq or wherever, and occasionally have communications with people back home. There were thousands upon thousands of people in Israel who were present, virtually present in what took place. When that Saturday evening, when we were told that we could go to the Soroka Hospital in Boston to meet him after he had been recognized, communications were made, and he said, come meet me at Soroka Hospital. We came and we found a young man whose color had changed to grayish black. And the reason is that he was covered with smoke residue. Only the next day did he get a shower and return to his natural color. This young man has been through a lot and has been, so far as one can see, has survived it with fortitude and with his feet on the ground. But the trauma is going to have to last a lifetime. I can tell you is that his mother, Deborah, was her second name is for an aunt who, like my mother, lived through a pogrom in the Ukraine in 1919, which was similar in the sense that it was militarized men who came into a village and indiscriminately chose to kill civilians merely because they were of a different faith and had a different national identity. That's what a pogrom is. It's a horrible kind of thing. There have been many in the 20th century. Some have gone on recently. Some will probably continue to go on. But have no doubt, this is not a military campaign. This is not a war of national liberation fought against legitimate targets. This is a war of hate against innocent civilians, innocents to people who are older even than I with my white hair are, who are taken captive because that's the part of the game, in contravention of every human right. Older people who are not being given their medications, who have no communications with the outside world, was a clear war crime.